Welcome to AGAN aircraft industry. Today we will tell you about the interesting yet difficult work that we have performed, the complete cabin restoration of the legendary L-29 Delfin training jet. This aircraft type was successfully operated in the training regiments of Eastern Bloc Air Forces until 1992. It has a well-known reputation as an unpretentious, reliable and safe aircraft, which also possesses very good aerobatic capabilities. Today, the L-29 is very popular among private pilots as an entrance ticket into the world of jet aviation. In the hands of true expert pilots, these aircraft generate unforgettable motions from every flight. Due to this, the owners are ready to put up with the large expenses associated with high fuel consumption. The L-29 has a pressurized cabin, which is divided into two sections, the front for the cadet and the rear for the instructor. Both sections of the cockpit are equipped with KK-1 ejection seats and full-flight navigation instruments and systems. The layout of the cabin and the dense placement of a large number of onboard equipment is typical in all trainer aircraft. After receiving confirmation and approval for the cockpit restoration project, the specialists of AGAN aircraft industry began to dismantle the instrument equipment and removable elements of the cabin. However, before doing this, in order to ensure the maximum safety conditions, we carefully and professionally removed the functional ejection seat. We subsequently also removed the oxygen from the system with specialized oxygen removal equipment, and finally, the compressed air was drained from the pneumatic system of the canopy reset. The instrument panel and equipment removed from the cockpit was marked and stored separately, so there wouldn't be any confusion of the components from the front and rear cockpit. All instruments were thoroughly tested and analyzed. All of these dismantled elements were found to be defective. Very careful and special attention should be paid to the dismantling of the ejection seats and canopy, since the canopy is equipped with locks that have emergency opening mechanisms and are connected via one integrated system with the ejection seats. Also, to ensure maximum access when working inside the cockpit, all pads, partitions, control panels, instrument panels, and visors were dismantled. It was decided to dismantle, replace, and remanufacture all the marking placards on the instruments, consoles, and elements of the cockpit. Since the old placards had deteriorated into unsatisfactory condition over many years of operation and most were unreadable. After the working space in the cockpit was prepared, the parallel processes began to work inside the cabin. This task entailed working with dismantled flight and engine parameter instruments, small system components, ejection seats, and canopy. It is particularly worth discussing the process of removing the old paint inside the cockpit, because for many years and after many procedures of cosmetic paint updates, most of the cockpit has accumulated unnecessary amounts and layers of paint. Cramped working conditions, a large number of hard-to-reach places, complicated an already very time-consuming process. In addition, it was absolutely unacceptable to allow dust and remnants of the old paint to get under the cabin floor and into the controllers. Scrupulously and methodically, the company specialists removed all the old paint and began the process of preparing the cockpit for a fresh, new coat of paint. This process also turned out to be extremely time-consuming, and it was important to thoroughly prepare the surface with abrasive agents and mask the elements that were not painted in the base color. In parallel with this, the process of washing off the paint from the ejection seats, disassembly, and restoration of the flight instruments and control panels was in full swing. Since the original fasteners and many parts of these aircraft are no longer available and there is practically no spare part suppliers, it was decided to completely restore all the fasteners and other small but important cockpit components. All fasteners, elements of the cockpit and ejection seats, elements of the canopy were cleaned, restored and electroplated. Exact copies of the marking placards that were removed from the cabin, from the instruments and consoles, we manufactured by us from scratch. Part of the pads from the control panels, side panels of the cabin, floors, ejection seats were disassembled into parts. Elements of the canopy as well as instrument panels were painted in powder coating to increase wear resistance and improve overall longevity. After painting the interior of the cockpit and evaluating the quality of the work performed, we started preparing for the long-awaited reassembly process. A separate stage which proved to be difficult and required the highest level of care and responsibility was the replacement of the canopy glazing. Since the aircraft is pressurized and its service ceiling is an incredible 11,000 meters, it is absolutely necessary to approach the replacement of the glazing as seriously as possible. The glass is thick enough and new glass for the canopy on this plane must be done without holes for fasteners. It is necessary to drill holes as carefully as possible, since the risk of error at this stage is extremely high. It is necessary to have sufficient dexterity, skills and experience when working with aviation glass. When installing the glass, it is necessary to strictly observe the well-designed geometry of the strong canopy frame on which the sealing booth is installed. Strict adherence to the technology, the use of special aviation sealant and fasteners, as well as a wealth of experience from working with aircraft glazing specialists within our company, allowed us to successfully achieve an excellent result. In addition, we polished the glass and achieved perfect transparency without any hint of distortion. The Cormorant 5 radio station was also replaced on the plane with a modern backer station. We managed to integrate the radio station itself into the standard remote control in place of the unused reticle switch left over from the days of operation in the Air Force training units. This solution was optimal from the point of view of ergonomics and the best decision in terms of using the already limited cabin space. Our specialists connected the radio station and adapted it to standard headset connectors, ensuring the absence of extraneous outside noise and yet creating excellent audible quality from radio communication. Additionally, in accordance with the color scheme design, the backs and headrests of the injection seats were sewn into Dakota leather, which has high wear resistance and excellent durability. The visors in the front and rear cockpits were also covered with leather, and we added a strip to the front of the visor that matches the color of the ejection seats. Also, all noise heat insulating and vibration-absorbing panels made of natural felt were resheeted with a special non-flammable material with contrasting orange stitching. Last, but of course not least, it is worth noting that the new leather pads of the control sticks of the aircraft in the front and rear cockpit were carefully hand-sewn and adjusted to perfection. The reassembly process turned out to be just as time-consuming and required very special care. We meticulously carried out this process, but only after checking and painting the ejection seats. The complete restoration of the ejection seats returned them to their factory appearance and condition, with the color scheme as an added highlight to this aircraft. The restored control panels, instruments and gauges were installed and reconnected. The marking placards handmade by us were carefully replied to the proper places in the cockpit. Separately, it is worth highlighting the installation and connection of all flight-related instrumentation on aircraft ordered and built at the request of the Ministry of Defense in the USSR, and generally in all aircraft that came out of the Soviet School of Aircraft Construction. Electrical wiring connectors and sockets and devices have unique plugins and are joined by the threaded connectors with a contour. We installed all the devices and connected them in accordance with the norms and requirements of the manufacturer. With each passing day of assembly, the cockpit acquired its finished new look. Needless to say, there was a stark contrast in the condition which these aircraft arrived at our facility, and the daily improvements were increasingly visible. All the work was done with great attention to detail, down to the smallest components. Nothing escaped our attention. Upon the completion of the cabin reassembly process, when the instrument equipment, ejection seats, and canopy were properly installed, we started a ground check of the onboard systems and preparation for the aircraft's first flight after 6 months of restoration. For the first time in half a year, the aircraft left the hangar for refueling with technical liquids and gases. The launch procedure is undoubtedly exciting and impressive. The ground check and the engine runs show that the aircraft was fully ready for operation, and the L-29 was sent to refuel, after which is flown and returned to its home airfield. According to our client, the restoration exceeded all his expectations, and the enormous amount of work we completed really impressed even the trained mechanics who have years of experience maintaining this type of aircraft. Well, as usual in such cases, the owner of the aircraft does not plan to stop here. It is necessary to install video equipment with monitors in the cockpit and many other high-tech devices. For us, customer satisfaction and the impeccable quality of our work always remain a top priority. We hope that you have appreciated the results of our work and approach to business. Thank you for your attention.